We once did this episode on this book called E-Myth Revisited. That book is about how running a business versus having your own product are two very, very different things. What if it wasn't? Today we have an amazing founder with us. His name is Suraj. And Suraj here takes E-Myth for a ride. He does all of the ancillary stuff for you while you focus on your product and you build a brand. Let's roll the intro.
Entrepreneurship has become a household conversation. Entrepreneurship has become an acceptable career option. I'm the founder at Freeflow Ventures. We are incubators and accelerators, but more important than that, we have our own venture studio, which you also call a startup studio. Apart from the fact that we help a lot of startups grow and help them with whatever they need, like marketing, finance, or tech, or compliances, investments, finally, we also build ventures with these startups. You guys, do what you're great at. You all continue to do that, and we build this venture with you. I think I'm still that child somewhere, so I'm still doing that stuff which I used to always love doing, which is creating something every day. Change world is that the common crux lies in the same thing, that what society has been telling us, what our parents have been telling us, what we've been reading, that till the next age, do your education, then you work for a bit, you settle down, you do your stuff after that, and once you retire, you do this. So you plan everything and you have a planned life. But like they say, nothing is more lethal than routine. So if you're doing the same thing over and over every day, then you're not really living. So there are so many of these things which are shared on social media also. One of them was that this is your lifeline. That means you're already dead if you're doing the same thing every day. If anybody can lose anything, it's actually me, because if my hunch is wrong about a product, I'm investing in it, I'm starting it, I'm getting it, taking it off the ground. Okay, so I'm the founder at Freeflow Ventures. We are incubators and accelerators, but more important than that, we have our own venture studio, which you also call a startup studio. So apart from the fact that we help a lot of startups grow and help them with whatever they need, like marketing, finance, or tech, or compliances, investments, finally, we also build ventures with these startups. So that's where the whole venture studio concept comes in, startup studio concept comes in, where we say, okay, fine, if you have something great to offer, you made a great product, you guys, do what you're great at, you all continue to do that, and we build this venture with you. So that's the venture studio model. Some of those ventures are also started by us from scratch. So if we think this is a great idea, we just build it ground up and we get it going just like another startup. So currently we have about 40 ventures which we are running parallelly, and more than 300 startups are working with us. So that's what the thing is. We work with the government as well for various initiatives of theirs, and with various other bodies who support startups, with various other investors and different people in the ecosystem. So we like to believe that we have a complete startup ecosystem within our realm.
Let's roll it back to Suraj being like a young little boy and the dreams and the things, all the random thoughts that Suraj used to have. And now Suraj has become this, incredible person who is handling 14 different ventures and venture studios. And all of those words we'll come back to later. But let's go with where you come from and why are you doing what you're doing? Like, it's such an unusual thing to do.
Okay. So that's a great question, because I think I'm still that child somewhere. So I'm still doing that stuff which I used to always love doing, which is creating something every day. The joy of creation gives me the biggest high. That every day there's something else that I want to do. There's something else that I want to delve on, because I even in my designation, the whole thing says chief ideator at Freeflow. So I love ideating. I love conceptualizing. My strength is a 0 to 1 game where I can start up very fast and then get it scaled up very fast. So this is something that I've actually been doing since childhood. I've always been a creative guy, trying to build different things, build new things, explore new maybe activities or places or spaces or whatever you say. So I think that's somewhere that has still been very alive in me, where I want to keep exploring and keep trying out new things. Frankly, there are a lot of close friends of mine who still ask me, कि यार तू करता क्या है? They still don't know because there's always something new happening, and that's exactly who I am. I couldn't have lived any other way. There are a lot of people who used to earlier say, why don't you focus and do just one thing and this and that. Fine, that's great. You should, and some people do that. Very well. But everybody's wired differently. So I'm not wired that way. No matter what, even if I've got $1 billion tomorrow, and they said you have to do just one thing, I wouldn't do it because I'm not wired that way. So I'm still wired as what I was as a kid. More of exploring new things, trying new things. Just getting into markets and just seeing new products. Always been doing that. So yeah, so that's where I'm at, and that's what's stuck on right now, apart from anything else.
So, Suraj, we spoke to someone recently who said that the pivotal moment in their life was realizing their boat was too stable and they wanted to do something to rock the boat, which is why they thought, why not start a company? You seem like one of those who prefers their boat being in a constant rocking state. You don't seem like one who wants their boat to be too stable either.
Right. So it's so stability, I think, is more in the mind. If I was doing something which I would hate doing, but it would be very good and stable in other people's eyes, that it's a growing company and it's doing well and there are no problems and all that. In my mind, that is instability. So if I was unhappy doing some shit which I just don't like to do, but I'm getting paid for it, and on the face of it, I'm looking successful. In fact, that's the reason for a lot of mental health problems today. If you deep dive. So, as per me, that is instability. As for me, stability is when you're doing what you love, you're passionate about it, you get to do it every day, and more importantly, you get to be who you are every day. That's when you're absolutely stable, and that's when you're at your best self and your authentic self, and nothing can be more stable than that, as per what, perhaps whoever's told you that. So, yeah, so there's a lot to that.
People like to put things into buckets, and nowadays the bucket has become grow up, get education, go to a job, have family, die, right? And we like to believe that entrepreneurs have this one thing in common: all of them are a little cuckoo, like a little crazy in their heads, and because of that craziness they generally change the world, right? So what does the changed world look like to you? What does the change from all this,
The changed
the
world.
whole employment generation that we're living in? What does the changed world look like to
Yeah.
you?
So the change world is that the the common crux lies in the same thing, that what society has been telling us, what our parents have been telling us, what we've been reading, that till the next age, do your education, then you work for a bit, you settle down, you do your stuff after that, and once you retire, you do this. So you plan everything and you have a planned life. But like they say, nothing is more lethal than routine. So if you're doing the same thing over and over every day, then you're not really living. So there are so many of these things which are shared on social media. Also, one of them was that this is your lifeline. That means you're already dead if you're doing the same thing every day. If it's not like this, then how are you living? So yeah, so that's changing a lot, I feel, nowadays. Earlier it used to be very fixated. Earlier it used to be, nahi, I have to get married now, do this now, do that now, all that now. Maybe the constitution of marriage only doesn't exist in the next couple of years. In terms of careers, one very good thing that has happened from initiatives like even Shark Tank and everything is that entrepreneurship has become a household conversation. Entrepreneurship has become an acceptable career option because the bulk of India is still middle class India, and for them security is very important. That taking student loans, we've done this for you, now you better get a job, give us our money back. I'm talking from the parents' perspective, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong at all when they're saying that, because security is a issue. But now I can see that on a daily basis happening, that the parents are saying and families are saying, what, you should be an entrepreneur. Oh wow, you're going to do your own startup. So suddenly from, oh my god, he's an entrepreneur. Oh my god, startup kar raha hai, kya karega, hoga nahi hoga. Now suddenly you start looking up to it. because there's so much awareness now in this space. There's so many success stories, so many huge amount of money that's been raised, unicorns, IPOs, and so on and so forth. But more than that, the awareness and the acceptability that yes, if you be an entrepreneur, you can have an excellent future. So yeah, that's when now people are starting to take risks, because no matter what is said and done, you need that support and backup from your family and others with you. Okay, ja kar le. Yeah, you know what? At least take a chance. नहीं होगा तो नहीं होगा, you still get a job, which is the main small thing that everybody needs to understand. That what the hell, it's very very difficult to live with regret. So give that 1 year or 2 years or whatever you want to yourself. If it works out, you'll be living the life of your dreams. But if it doesn't, you still get your jobs and whatever else you have that you're going to be looking into from a security perspective. So that's what I think. That's what is happening.
So up until starting Venture Studios, what was your journey?
So right from college, which is MBA, I started doing my own thing. So I was very very clear that I'm going to do my own business. While I was at my MBA, I did my own business, and month on month, by just working maybe half an hour or 1 hour in a week, I used to earn more than what my peers got with the higher salary after MBA. So, I used to do things very creatively. I still have a program which I speak about, which is called the conceptual mindset, that how you can start a business with no money at all. And I've done that several times, starting from college. I always thought that if I'm doing my MBA, why should I ask my dad or ask somebody else for money? Then what have I learned? So I think also it's very, very relevant today's day that if you get too much money, you spoil your own startup, because then you can't think out of the box. So that was one of the things that I did from college. That I started doing it as soon as I got out of college. I got one of the best placements, because people that sit, and I was curious what it's going to be like. I got through, unfortunately, which I didn't want. But within 3 years, I left that, and while I was working there as well, I started another business, simultaneously, and then I, started that as soon as I left that job. And since that time, I've only been doing new things. I've added on different ventures, and so what they call a serial entrepreneur maybe is perhaps something like this. So I've been doing that, but I would say that initially, in the initial years, I think I did the very right thing by not caring what I'm doing. So if I really liked something, if I really liked an idea, if I really thought it had merit, I would just jump into it. So people wouldn't do that. People are, ye kya kar, abhi to ye kar raha, now you're doing something else, and I'm doing something else. But I just did whatever I felt was right, whatever I felt seemed interesting, which I thought gives that joy to me. I just did it. So that is again from the childhood thing of mine, that acha lag raha hai, kar lo, whatever the thing is. But today I realized that there could not be anything that could substitute for that in terms of experience that I have to build ventures today. Why it perhaps takes us a matter of weeks to start a venture, take it from 0 to 100, is because of all of those things. So somehow the dots always connect. Whatever you're doing, if you just go with the flow and just take that plunge, it works. So that's what I've been doing. I just had multiple ventures, and different things, from e-commerce to services to an ad agency to manufacturing, where we manufacture signage and branding. I also took care of my father's business. He passed away when I was at an early age, and so lots of those different ventures, and some were way before that time, which was good, because I could just premium price and they would pay me whatever I liked. So stuff like that. And then obviously, it came down to the fact that let's work on something like this, where I can work with different founders, I can work with different passionate creative people, and literally create something new every day. And it's pretty much that's what's happening. So
let's have a popular on-demand question, right? The world has been asking you, कि तू करता क्या है? So let's have the question of what it,
Tu Karta Kya Hai?
let's have the question of what it is that you do. Actually, I want to remove the clouds from these big words, right? Me and Vishwat are idiots, okay, absolute morons. So we want to know what incubators are, what venture is, what the hell is a unicorn? Isn't it like a horse? So what are we talking about? So let's talk about some of these words with you, and let's talk about what exactly it is that incubators are and what you do.
Okay, so if you just ask me, Tu Karta Kya Hai? I was thinking about the other day. So this is one line where I can try and say it nowadays that I mentor, I invest in, and I build startups. So it's as simple as that. So we have loads of startups who come to us who only need mentorship or they need help in terms of something where they are lacking.
Just going to break off the content for 1 second. If you really wish to connect with Suraj or with any of our other founders, do feel free to email us. The details are down in the description, and let's see if we can get you connected, and let's see if we can create some value.
The first part is the service-based part when I'm saying mentoring. So we give them different types of services that they require, which are these startups and founders. Now, based on the type of founder, they need certain types of services which they are not so great at. So let's say it's the two of you and you're like engineers, you all would need help mostly in marketing and sales, digital marketing, those kind of areas. And vice versa. So, as you know, if you guys have MBA or from a marketing background, generally you guys would need help in tech. And of course, most startups need help with finance, with investments and stuff like that. So that's one part of the entire business, which is the mentoring part, which I would say if it's three verticals, where we help them with these services and help them reach a certain level where they become investable. Once we say, okay, yes, they're investable, we have so many events which we do by ourselves, which we do with different organizations, with the government. There, these startups go up on the stage and pitch to a room full of investors. And then that's the way the deals happen, where some investors feel that yes, it makes sense, so on and so forth, and the investments go through. Sometimes we also invest with the investor, we co-invest. Sometimes we invest ourselves. Sometimes there's a whole network of investors that invest in these kind of startups. So that's where the investment part comes in, which was the second thing that I said. That I mentor, I invest in, and I co-found companies with them. Now, the third part is extremely interesting. That is more of the venture studio part, where we say, where suppose I say, okay, you guys are making a super podcast. You guys are great at communication. You guys know whom to call. You know whom to talk to. You know how to talk to them. Ask the right questions and stuff like that. I say, fine, let's start a new venture. It's called Dialogue with Entrepreneurs. And you guys are the ones who are going to be communicating. You guys are going to be doing the studio and the production, find the right people. We'll manage the entire industry interface. We'll open networks for you. We'll get you whichever names you want in the country. We'll make sure that this is on the right platforms. We'll make sure that from day one, every podcast is branded and it's sponsored, stuff like that. And let's build this venture together because we have expertise in this area. That's the venture studio model that we become partners. So when I am saying I am becoming a partner with you, which means all my wherewithal of all, the organization, the infrastructure, the networks that comes along with it. So you guys are happiest, sitting in your room doing exactly what you like to do, exactly what you're good at. And so do we. The people who are opening networks and doing this stuff for you are great at what they do. So automatically the probability of success is higher, and that's the venture studio model that we do with them. So that's the venture building thing where we build the ventures with them. The investment part can also be a part of the venture studio and mostly is. So what typically happens is that first we invest a certain amount of money, then we say, okay, of course we'll be doing whatever we have to do, and once it reaches a particular scale, then even new investors can join in. We've done that a couple of times. It's a very, very successful model. So yeah, so that's I think the most exciting part of the entire journey.
You're like a one-stop shop for every startup, every founder, whoever wants to do anything. You're like, they have they're struggling for a particular thing, or they need direction, or they need any kind of they go to you and they get like you're catering to all their needs.
Absolutely. So you know what? In fact, there's. I just want to take this a notch higher now. So it's not about startups because it's just become a fancy word. It's not about key founders need something or want to do something or whatever. I think this starts at the campus level. So when you go to an IIT, or not just IIT, or triple IT, any engineering college, you'll see amazing products being built by these guys. Okay, amazing products. That's how this idea came to me when I first had gone to an IIT for IIT Kharagpur, I think, for some hackathon and a talk for that. There was a whole thing. I saw super products being built by these guys. But when you ask them that, how are you going to market it? What are you going to do with it? They have no clue. So more often than not, these just become projects and they lie in the institutes. The same thing is also true for professors. So these guys also make brilliant stuff. They literally have IPs and patents on it, but they don't know how to market it. They don't know how to monetize that. It's all lying in some shelf. most of these events and even the IITs and biggest of colleges are there. They'll have a hackathon, then the people are coming, students are coming, showing their ideas and all that, and they'll be like, fine. The end of it is, yeah, very good, beta. First prize, second prize, third prize. Ye check le lo. But what about after that? Nobody is there to hold their hand and say, what, your product is excellent. Let's make this a company. So nobody was doing that. So I think that is something which I really, really want to do now. Which is why I've just started a new Suraj Juneja official Instagram channel where I'll be inviting ideas, inviting products, people who've made stuff but they don't know how to make it a company. So I think that's where the real impact is. And there are these brilliant people sitting all over the country who've made amazing stuff, or they can make amazing stuff, and they just need a little bit of help with money. And of course, after that, to create networks. So if later, I'll tell you guys about one of the examples, live examples right now, which has happened, and why later I'll tell you about right now. So this guy, this engineer from Jaipur, so he was after me on LinkedIn that come see my product, see my product, see my product. Which I said, how do I just come to Jaipur? It's not happening right now. I said, okay, I'll try. But he was so persistent, and luck would have it, I had some meeting in Jaipur. So I said, fine, I'm coming to you. I called him and I said, look, you were asking me to come and all that. I'm coming. Let me check out the product. And sure enough, I saw the product. Great entrepreneur. Him and his dad developed India's first driving simulator. So I loved it. Great market for gaming. It's a great market for driver training spaces, for the government, for the military, and so on and so forth. So I said, fine, let's build this together. Because when I asked them that it's good, the prototype, something which was like just a working prototype. When I asked them that, how are you going to market this? So the first answer was, shayad hum India Mart mein dal denge. So it was very, very clear that they don't know how to market this. They don't even know that, there's so much of potential in a product like this if it's marketed in the right way. So it's been 7 months since that day. I said, fine, we're going to build this company together. We invested in the company. We made sure that the simulator is being made in a certain way which is market ready, which can also be exported. So this week, the first 6 DOF means 6 degrees of freedom simulator is ready. The company is already valued at 7 times more than what we had invested in. New investors have come in who want to open markets in UAE and Saudi Arabia and UK. And so that's how fast it's going, man. So it's not just about the product. It's not just about us suddenly getting valued at 7 times, which is great, obviously, which what we do for a living. But it's how we've impacted these lives. So both the founders, the son who said, okay, he's a great engineer, but he did not want to go for a regular job. He wanted to create his own stuff. He's getting to do that. His dad, the physics professor, one of the good reputed physics professors in the country, he didn't want to work in his job. He wanted to create more products because he's really good at that. And that was my driving force behind it, that I want to get that guy out of the job that he doesn't like because he has so much potential. These guys are so good, they made such amazing products. And so that's what it is now. They are doing exactly what they love. They keep coming up with new products, new and new inventions, and making simulators better. There's a driver alert system, so many things that are coming from that company. And here, we are doing what we are great at. We gave it a great name called Meta Drive. If you see the logo later, you see the way the companies come out, the animations, the simulator itself. It's brilliant. So everybody is doing what they are great at, collaborated, and boom, the success is obviously the probability is again much higher to be successful in this case. So that's the thing. So there are loads of such people sitting all over the country and outside who are saying, here, come at least see my product. I don't want to go the regular route. Let's do something about it. So
So what's
that's
the
the main
timeline on
impact area, I
this?
guess. Of what?
From you meeting this guy to today?
7 to 8 months. So, the other day we were talking internally that, so I run because of this, I run a strategic fund, venture fund rather, and a strategic syndicate that helps these networks open. It's called Associated Innovators LLP. That's where we invested this from the fund. So I think it's going to be a first of its kind of a deal in India where in 8 months, literally by the time the company is being formed, it's valued at about 6-7x of it already, and new investors have come in already. And existing investors at my time, when we invested at at the period about 7 8 months ago, are already getting a partial exit, which means whatever they have invested, they're already getting a part of it back. So I don't think it's ever happened so fast in any other deal. I've never heard of it. I don't know. Maybe we have to look at it, but it just gives us that much more confidence on this model. That the whole venture studio model, the whole venture building model is so great that if you allow these people to just thrive and you give them a platform to thrive and think without any fear, without any doubts, without any insecurities, I think people can kill it. So that's where
You know,
the core of it comes from.
what you're saying takes me back to Three Idiots. There was that drone type thing with the camera attached to it, which they built, and they were listing off all the places, security, police, X, Y, Z, all these places where it could be useful. And you think about the number of engineering colleges in India, then you look at those all around the world, and you just think of the sheer number of projects that you're dealing with. Maybe
Yes,
even if you get
yes,
one in 1,000, which are what you're saying, even that will leave you with I don't
yeah.
know how many hundreds of products to deal with.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm not looking at me getting one or hundred or thousand products. I'm looking at those guys have nobody to build the products with. Their colleges don't help them. They have no awareness that there is somebody sitting somewhere who can help them make it a company. They sadly, when the day zero comes when they graduate, they go for the first job that they get because again the same thing. They are from families where they have to pay back loans and get back to their get back to their families, do the same security wala route which we first started with. कि अरे job करना है, फिर ये करेंगे, फिर शादी करेंगे. So that has to be disrupted somewhere. It can't be disrupted with just gyan because everybody gives gyan. So this is the impact. Because if they know, okay, fine, if my product is good, there is someone who I can build this with. So that's I think key, which people should know. कि हाँ, there is this thing that exists.
I am in the sounds too good to be true camp right now. Everything comes at a cost. Even when you start a business, you start with I am doing this is the good, and then this is the cons, this is the bad. I want to know for the businesses who come on board, what do they give up? What kind of things could they have if they were not with you, which are positive?
So, frankly speaking, these businesses don't come on board because when they come on board, it's just a founder. There is no business. We start the business with them. We build it, so there's nothing to lose. So, if anybody can lose anything, it's actually me because if my hunch is wrong about a product, I'm investing in it. I'm starting it. I'm getting it. Taking it off the ground. Even in some cases, if some particular founder or maybe someone in his family with him or his co-founder is in a job and has to leave that job and do this business, so I literally pay for that salary too. So the risk is all on our hand. I think, yeah, so you're right. There are cons from both sides. If you look at it, the risk is on us. There is no risk on the other side. The other side, there could be a risk of opportunity cost. Like if they may look back at things, if suppose something doesn't work out, they might think, "Arey yaar, I should have taken a job. एक साल चला गया." So maybe that answers your question. But that's the whole thing. I mean, that's the whole plunge that you're supposed to take, and we are willing to do that for them. So literally, we are taking the plunge and saying, we have the cushion under you. So even if you fall, there's no problem. You're getting a salary. There'll be this company. We are funding it, stuff like that. So I think that's why it works well.
How about what if, like, 3 months later or 3 months into your journey, the founder goes like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore?
So generally that doesn't happen because that's where my choice of founder is very important. So for me, the product, okay, great, market, definitely, everything else, yes, you look at, but I really look at the founder. That what is the founder really, what does he really stand for? How passionate is he? Is he really willing to put everything into it? And so guys who build stuff like this, guys who leave everything and even the college and everything, and they make these products, they are full of passion. They want to give it some kind of end story. That's one thing. But for me, if it's not even the person, it's not even the founder, it's not even the product, it's not even the market, it's the mind. So if I see a mind that is passionate, that is creative, that can do wonders. But if you just remove this layers of insecurity, of fear of loss, or fear of failure, and doubts from their head, I think those minds can do wonders if they deep dive without those layers which actually limit us. In fact, that's true in everything in life. That if you remove these three layers, then you'll be living, your best self. So in this case, I definitely am seeing that the moment you remove these layers of fear and stuff like that, then it is like a kid. You just say, "Okay, this is your toy room. Build what you want." And trust me, the stuff they'll build will be the best. But the moment you say नहीं अगर नहीं चला तो तुम्हारा ये खत्म तुमको ये नहीं मिलेगा सैलरी नहीं मिलेगा if it fails you have to pay me back and this and that, then that is the story. So yeah, you have to go in with all heart.
We did this episode with David. He runs a non-profit, and he talks about Maslow's hierarchical needs. He says that only when you can take care of the basic necessities can you actually build something incredible, right? And it feels like you guys are those enablers, taking care of those necessities. So let's say I'm on board. Let's say I'm a founder. I'm going to build the next PlayStation 25, okay? And I want to reach you, and I want to get to you. Now, I'm going to be in a pool of 5,000, 10,000 different companies who would like to reach you. Especially after our podcast, it's just going to boom. But anyways, I want to reach you. And you have this whole list of different founders. How do you find me? How do you filter me? What's your process?
So see, we get a lot of startups who want to work with us. They send us their decks. Actually, in the literal meaning, the pitch deck, where you see okay what they're doing, what they think, the regular tamjam, the regular jargon and stuff like that. So those don't really interest me so much. And those mostly are startups who are saying, okay, I want to raise so much of money and I want to do this and that and this and that by myself. I believe if you give any startup or any founder just the money, it may be detrimental for them because they won't even know how to spend it. So there was one of the, one panel I was saying that it's much more important than raising money. It's much more important to know how to spend it. I've seen so many startups, they've raised a lot of money, but it's blown in a year. Because again, for the same reason, if you are an engineer and you have to make your marketing plan or your media plan, will you be able to make it? You won't be able to make it that well, but generally the founder wants to do all of that himself. He'll say, okay, I'll decide how it's going to be advertised. I'll only go for the sales calls, I'll do this. Dead. So that's where it's all burnt. I'm a marketing guy and I know that if I am going to be, making a tech team of my own, I won't even know who to hire. I won't even know how to keep them in the company. They'll just come and leave. I won't even know how to judge their work. So that's where again the money gets blown up. So I think it's very, very important that the startups who are looking for strategic help, or the startups should rather look for strategic help and collaborations and not just money. Because sometimes, trust me, and I've seen it in my own venture startup that I've helped, that stuff has moved and worked for them within 4 phone calls by the right people, and the doors are open to take the product to light, where they would have otherwise taken 3 years. So I feel strategic help is very important. So to answer your question, the filter actually for me is where I can strategically help these guys, or my syndicate can help these guys. Somebody can open doors for them, take them from point A to point B quickly. Those are the guys that I would rather work with. And if somebody is just plain simple, okay, I'm just raising so much of money, we have a different department for that. They can come, pitch at our events, get the money and do what they want by themselves. But where I'm looking at is basically called strategic intervention, where you're saying, okay, you know what, I need help too, and I'm saying, perfect, I can do this for you in like 2 months, and let's do this, let's create this, and let's create that. So that kind of stuff. And which is why I would say more than a pitch deck or something, if somebody just sends me a video of their product or explain a video of their product or their service or whatever that they're doing, that will work for it because it'll open my mind also that wow, this can be used in so many different ways or can go to so many countries or we can pivot in so many ways, and that's how the whole thing comes.
I think from what I've understood from what you're saying is that you're looking at the passion of the person and the product that they've created rather than, oh, this is the company I've created, this is what we've done. And, I think that's very similar to the sensibilities that Akhil and I sort of look for when we were trying to talk to people who are trying to find that passion. So I think that's why it's struck out to me, at least, that you're also one of those who's looking for the passion amongst the person, and you're looking to invest in the person or work with the person and the product rather than, oh, this is the company I've created.
Yeah. Because those other things come by default. So I mean, if you're doing great stuff and you're enjoying it always will be good in the end. So that's for sure. So you mentioned Three Idiots, now there was this other dialogue of the Three Idiots where he says कि अगर लता मंगेशकर फास्ट बॉलर होती या सचिन तेंदुलकर की पिज्जा का दुकान होता पता नहीं क्या तो वो क्या करते, but yeah, lot of people do that. They have the talent, they want to be something else, but they like चलो ये दुकान के गद्दी में बैठ जाते हैं, whatever crap. That's the truth of life every day. So yeah, that's actually the crux of whatever we're talking about.
I saw it in a video that there can be two kinds of investments. There can be a build and there can be a buy. In a buy, I'll buy a nice company which has been undervalued, which will gain its value. And in the build, I'll buy a company in which I can add value, I can build, and I can make it of a certain value, right? And you feel like you're the build kind and you're trying to add a lot of value to it. I want to go into the technicals. I want to know if there is an industry that you like. I want to know if there is some kind of a profit that you like that a company is making or not making or whatever you see. Is there, let's put some numbers to it. Let's add or maybe let's add an example to it with numbers.
Okay, so there is no sector that it's sector agnostic. That's what it's called in technical terms. That we don't prefer any sector. I don't prefer any sector. If I think something makes a lot of sense, I'll do it. So my portfolio investments or my portfolio ventures are from energy bars to sustainable bricks and paper blocks to facial recognition companies to companies for OTT and edutainment and simulators. So it's all diverse. So it's not that it's a particular sector that I'm interested in. But yeah, it should have some USP. It should, I should know that yeah, there are amazing open markets for this that can be captured. And of course, I should know that okay, I can really help this venture or I can really build this with them because I have either that network by myself or set of people who are in my syndicate have that network who can help these guys. So then I know it's a no-brainer that if this product is really built or if it's in a product stage that is, then yeah, it can go places. So to answer your second question, that what is the profit or something, the profit doesn't arise because in most cases it's just a POC stage product. It hasn't become a company. In some cases, yes, there could be the companies that started. They don't know how to go ahead and yes, let's go ahead. So in that case also, we're not looking in this model. I'm not really looking at the profits or the revenue or something. I'm still looking at the potential. I think the potential of the product and the founders is more important than what they've been able to garner till now. So because sometimes just one little pivot can just change the story for any business or any startup.
So just coming back to it all, before you started this and when you started the journey of Venture Studios, how was Venture Studios making money? Today, what is the way that were you charging people who came for you for strategy help or for investments?
So we have yeah. So we have all models. No? We have the service model is where people say, okay, I want XYZ help. Like startups say we want XYZ help. So there's a particular service-based program for that. It could be marketing, it could be tech, like I said, whatever. Secondly, if people say, okay, we want to build this app and this, and we have this idea, we say, okay, great. We say, fine, we'll build it for you. So we have in-house teams for it. People have ideas, founders have ideas. So that's also a service-based package. Sometimes those could also be technology capital that we are giving. For example, if you both say, we don't have this great app for podcasts, which this happened and that happened, we say, fine, that costs X amount of money. We'll build it for you and we'll take care of 60% of that cost. You all pay just 40% and we can have X amount of equity in this new venture. So that's also one model which goes ahead. So either you charge in, let's say in cash for these things or in equity also. It works both ways. The second thing is, yes, we also have something which is and of course when we're investing in startups and the other companies, generally we get an equity and that's how you earn money when it goes ahead. Thirdly, in the venture studio model, when we are becoming partners, then obviously we are partnering in the same company. The risk is on us because we are the investors. But yeah, if it grows in value and the products start selling, then literally like a partner, you're gaining in that sector. And the startups whom we raise money for, let's say if some other investors come and we've helped the startups again and they are sitting in an event and they're pitching and they've made money. So there is a success fee model in that as well, where depending on how much they've raised, there's a success fee that goes to our company to fund or to help that vertical get more and more startups and help them further. That's so there are four different kinds of business
Do
models.
you believe everyone should own a business?
Everyone who wants to own a business should definitely own a business. So I wouldn't say if someone really wants to do a job and नहीं तो यार तो अपना business चालू कर सकता हूँ. But yeah, I think everybody who really wants to and believes that they can and aspires to definitely should. I keep repeating this. The only reason why they don't start it is because of a little bit of self doubt or that fear of failure or the thing कि okay ये हो जाएगा तो लोग क्या कहेंगे or my parents won't let me or oh my god that job maybe will take me here my friends are doing this thousand things. But if you really want to, you definitely should.
I can point out a huge issue. So you have a team,
Yeah,
considering how many services you're providing.
yeah.
How do you get your team to stick on and not go and open their own businesses?
So, on the contrary, I really work to the opposite of what you're saying. So, I literally motivate my team that start your own business, you know. So, they will be one of the founders that I will build a venture with. So and then they come up with ideas, come up with things. If there is something that you want to do, fine, build. Let's do it together. We've done that. We have a success story like that within the organization as well. So that's how the whole thing goes. No? So these guys. So let's say tomorrow if I start a venture from scratch, which we've done. So ultimately, I can't personally run every venture, right? So what we have is okay. Suppose I say okay, I want to hire somebody who will be like a founder of this company. So that is called EIR, Entrepreneur in Residence. They are hired. So either one of the team members of us says, I give him that thing, I say, why you handle this particular startup, you are getting so much equity also, and that's the way it goes. So the guy is also getting salary, also getting equity, and he's running that show. So that's one way. And second is that just open it out and say, yes, you guys come out with ideas and let's build a venture. You become an entrepreneur. And the same thing goes out even in campuses. And again, there's a success story. We've done that. Invested in this company where we make recycled, we make paper blocks and bricks and all that with recycled plastic waste. This is a guy who was still in college when he came up with this whole concept and he even patented it. And he's a chemical engineer, great guy, very good founder. And my only thing to him was, you know what, if we go ahead with this, you should be the guy who, after your college, does not look for a job, but you become an employer. And sure enough, he employed people from his college before even passing out. So these things are, these things are crazy, and it can happen if people just learn to believe.
That's impressive, man. I mean, making bricks out of recycled plastic is just phenomenal.
It's crazy. And this is unsegregated plastic waste. So it's a patented thing. So even the PET bottles we throw, the chips, the packets we throw, all of that can be used to make this. Normally that wasn't possible because then you needed shredding machines, which was very high investment for various things, which was segregated plastic waste. This is unsegregated. So it's a great impact on the environment as well. And it's very, very profitable. So, people should just people need to just open their eyes and look at these different avenues as well. It's just about that.
So we here like to blow away these questions from people's minds. That's why the whole vibe comes across as, oh, he's trying to like attack me. but when people hear this and when people hear that, oh, it is possible to work with such people and then own a business, maybe learn how to own a business and then own a business, get such teams behind me, it can really can really allow them to take the next step and blow off that fear, which is the main reason why people don't do something.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. That's the key to everything. And that's why I'm saying, in some cases we have a model, and I really, really believe in that. And certain people who are co-investors, they say, "Arey, why are you paying them salaries and all that?" And I'm saying, if the guy is in a job for the last 20 years, and we say, "Okay, sab chhod chhad ke you do this thing," and we don't pay him a salary, so what will start happening is that self-doubt, the insecurity will start creeping in. Always that fear, ki, "Arey, yaar, if this doesn't work, my God, I used to make this, I used to make that, my EMI, my this, my that." So just for this little amount of, let's say, a couple of lakhs of a year, for a year, or a couple of whatever it is, whatever amount it is, these investors, they don't give him salary. But if you do that, and you give him that, and you just make him secure, make him free from all of these issues in his head, he will give you an ROI which is exponential, because then he'll create magic. But if you don't, and you make him, which most of us, most of the people I look around, all have a restrictive living. They're all living somehow restricted in some certain way, because all of these things keep stopping us, right? ये हो जाएगा तो ये क्या होगा, ये होगा. But if you just go for it and go with the flow, and there is no restriction on you, you will create magic. So that's one thing which I really try to do, and I go out of my way to make sure that happens, because I understand that how important that is, in terms of even the product itself. But if the founder is not 100% into the venture himself, then what's the point of the product being great or whatever it is? That won't really work that well.
No, Norway does this very well. So what Norway does is that all of their citizens, by the time they'll retire, are like good enough for a decent life. Like they have enough money based on the Norwegian Sovereign National Fund. So Norway per capita has the most number of entrepreneurs, most number of small businesses, most number of people going out doing creative stuff, because it allows them to do that. And I feel like on a much smaller scale than a country, but you are allowing people to do that, which is incredible and which can really get people going.
Yeah. So even if you see Bhutan, they keep saying us their GDP is mapped in happiness, is the happiest country and stuff like that. Yes, it is. But if nobody is really asked them why are they the happiest country, so sure enough, same thing. So when your kid is of a certain age, the government funds their education anywhere in the world. They choose any university in the world, they get their education, and so many other things that they are secure. They don't really have to look into their daily things and what's going to happen in the future. Have I kept enough money for education? So that they're secure with everything. Definitely and obviously, the straight back, byproduct of that is happiness and peace. There are no cops on the roads over there. So because of this, so I think the psychological factor is the most important.
I had friends in school in Singapore. They were from like Denmark and Norway, and they were getting paid to study.
Exactly. See.
Like we were all so envious, because we were like, one, you're coming all the way to Singapore and you're able to get this opportunity to live here and be in this place and live by yourself, and you be in this amazing school that we were all in. And on top of that, you're getting paid to study. They went to university after that, and their university was free. And on top of that, they were getting a stipend to go study. And we were all like, oh my God, this is ideal, isn't it?
So when you have such circumstances around you, and when you're in that mental zone that you don't have to really think for about anything else apart from what your focus area is, automatically you'll do much better. You'll thrive.
Decluttering the brain.
Absolutely, very very important.
So you talk about fear and you talk about insecurity and you talk about it in a very personal manner. And sometimes it drives people, something personal that happens because of which they are doing something that they believe should not be a problem in the world. How did you dodge your fear or your insecurity, and what kind of fears did you have?
So that's what I'm saying. I always went all out for everything. Frankly, I didn't really have these fears, but yes, there is one thing for sure, that there was nobody to back me at that time. So let's say 18 years, 15 years, 16 years back, when I had just much started, if there were things, and if the awareness was as much as it is today, like venture capitalists and fund houses, and this and that, and startup has become a name today. Earlier it was just business, naya business career. Now it's become more fun now. But yeah, there were people to back me up that time. I wouldn't have to start every business without any money, which I did. So, but on the hindsight, I think that's taught me a lot. It's given me a lot of skills, made me think out of the box always. So I think it's worked out for the best. But yeah, I think everybody needs someone to back them with their ideas and with their passion and whatever. And I think if they do, anybody would just fly faster. They will fly at the end of the day, but they'll fly faster. They'll fly higher. So that's what it's all about.
What keeps the fire burning, Suraj? You say you've been doing this for 15 years, 20 years. What have you done, or what in your life? How do you manage to keep this fire to start something new every time?
It's clear to me the joy of creation. So every day, if I can just create something new, it'll be brilliant. It'll keep my eyes twinkling. And I see a new product, I see a new idea. अरे इसको तो ऐसे कर सकते, इसको तो ऐसे बेच सकते, इसको तो ये कर सकते, वो कर सकते. That gives me a lot of joy. So it is a 0 to 1 game. What I'm saying is what my strength is also, which is my focus area also. After it gets set, after it's scaled, of course, then there's a whole, it becomes a full company. There are, operations and this and that, and then there are audits, and you have your people. Fine, that's happening. I'm not there. Then I'm building the next step. So I'm very clear about the thing is the creation of it, the starting of it, the flying of it, and then it flies by itself. That's what keeps me going as well.
I think we've gone full circle. We started with this whole conversation of stability and
Yeah,
instability and how we look at it, and now we're back to there.
yeah. That's what it is. No? It's just actually the core remains the same.
I want to talk about the first investment. After you've run your things, after you've done this, after you've done that, marketing agency, production, this and that, and you decide, you know what, let me bet on somebody else. First transaction, first investment. What did you feel? How did it go? And what exactly happened?
First transaction or first venture of mine or first business of mine or first place that I invested.
First place that you invested in.
Okay. So there was this, again, there was an idea that came up from me only, but I did it with somebody else, same venture building model, long time back, about 6, 7 years. It was called Bike Stuff. So I'm a biker at heart. I've ridden across the country, I've gone outside the country on my bike. Bhutan, in fact, I went on my bike only. So I said, and I saw this gap in the market that, there aren't good biking accessories, gloves, balaclavas, jackets, pants, stuff like that for bikers. The ones that are there are the ones that are good are imported, brands and all that, which are very expensive. There aren't any Indian brands, stuff like that. So we started importing stuff. We created this venture, got somebody else. I invested in that. It's called Bike Stuff. So that was amongst the first, and that did very very well. And we are reviving it now. In between, we had to shut operations because China closed down. Most of our imports were from China, and now we've started manufacturing a lot of that stuff in India. We found vendors for it, thankfully, and few things which can't be made here in the same quality and price are now coming from China. So that's restarted, and yeah, so that's one of the special startups that I invested in, and I could say actually among the first only, and also special because it's completely with what I used to love doing as a passion was biking.
How was it? How was the feeling once when if you not with bike stuff since you were also heavily involved, but when you invested in in the first company that that was completely done by somebody else or like a startup that you invested in, how did that feel? Being that passive observer.
Yes, you see, that's not a problem at all. It's always good to even do that at times. And obviously, every startup that I've ever invested in, also that I'm not even involved directly, they always come back for, let's say, mentoring or ideas or brainstorming and all that, which I love doing. So in any ways, it's not that if that's not part of the venture studio. I'm all out in all of the startups anyways. So that's what gives me, that's what I enjoy doing. So it really doesn't matter. So even if it's them, we do the same kind of stuff. There is no filtration ki, तो मेरे studio में नहीं है, बात नहीं करूँगा type. So like that.
You're reminding me. So we did an episode with this guy called Pritesh. He is our age, and I think if we had met you when you were our age, you would be this guy. Like the way you speak is so similar. The energy you have, the kind of fire that you have, and the kind of joy, this creation that you have. The joy of creation that I can see. From everything we've spoken about, one thing that stood out, and that you mentioned as well. It's so eerily similar.
Yeah. So you know what? It's very interesting. I came across a YouTube video some time back. So this girl, she very beautifully explains this whole thing that there are people who love to do the 9 to 5 jobs. There are people who love to start something and focus on it and make it really big, and that's great. That's also a skill set, focusing on whatever you're doing and making it big. But there are some people who like to do a lot of things and different things and stuff like that. So she was like, it's earlier people used to think that it's a problem. Parents would say, what are you doing? You're doing everything. Focus on something else. But actually, there's a technical term to it. People would think of that. So the technical term to it, which is called multi-potentialite. So it is called that. That is, people are multi-potentialites where they like to do everything and they are wired that way. If you give them one thing, they will never do it. So I love that video. I'll share that with you offline separately. You guys see it, it's very interesting. But then I read another book or something somewhere. That's something which I truly believe in, and that really works extremely well now. So they say the best kind of company is when suppose there are two founders, one should be a generalist and one should be a specialist. So multi-potentialites who like to do everything are actually generalists. They could have everything and they have a lot of experience in different ways, so they can think out of the box, do something, at the moment anything goes wrong, they come up with 10 solutions because they work with so many solutions. That's one skill set. And the other guy should be a specialist with a deep dive. So suppose this podcast, that guy should know every goddamn thing about podcast. From the way the mic is set up to the way the video is done, to the audio quality, the echo, the voice modulation, this, that. So that guy is a specialist. So when you have two such people, then you're banging again. So that's another way. So that's how this dot connects as well. So generalists are mostly the people who like to do everything, and specialists are those who are focused on one and deep dive. So you need all kinds of people to balance the world. So I think that's
In my opinion, linearity is dead. I feel like one life, start off, do whatever you want, and do all of the things you wish, so that at the end of the day, you look back and you're like a happy person. Like, I
exactly
didn't miss out on anything, right? And
anything. Absolutely. Also, how will you know that what you're going to focus on for your entire life till you don't try 20 things? So people have told me this thing. I said, so just go out, try things. If it doesn't work, try something else. You'll try 20 things. You'll find this one thing that you're focusing on. So ultimately today, trying and doing so many different things, I am actually focusing on one thing now, which is venture building, which is finding great entrepreneurs, working with them, building a company. So if I say that's my focus area, that involves doing anything, but then I've also found this one thing which I want to do. So it's the way you look at it, but till you don't try literally everything that you like, or everything that gets your attention, or everything that you feel is interesting, just dive into it, man, and then you'll get to know exactly what's to your liking.
I think very often, especially when it comes to startups, I think we get too involved and engrossed in the numbers that this startup has done 3x, 4x, 5x. Dude, forget that. Like, that's money will come and go. You have to understand the product. Like today, you see the way edtech is happening. What's happened with all these bubbles that are created and then they go bum. Why is that? Why does this happen? I was thinking about this the other day, and this is because of this fact that we see something which looks attractive and then everyone just rushes towards it. You saw that with you know the 1995 to 2000, where everyone was doing .com and Y2K. Then you saw it with the housing market and things like that. And like, it's just with crypto, this is exactly what's happened. Everyone rushed towards it, and then one little thing, and you like popping a hole, and everything just goes.
Absolutely. So that's what. So the other day I was thinking, and my team was telling me, why don't you write a book and stuff? I said, yeah, I'd love to write a book on the whole startup studio model. I really believe that that's the future of starting up. Okay, this venture studio model, what we spoke about. But now I feel that the book should be titled. It should be a different book, which should be titled that why do 99.2% startups fail? Because every goddamn event you go to, or every motivational speech, or some rubbish jargon you hear from people all over the internet and stuff like that will be like, the one statistic they'll throw on you that, not 99.2, sorry, 92%. So 92% startups fail, 92% startups fail, and this and that, and so you should do this, so you should do that, so you should do that. But nobody tells you or even talks about why do those startups fail. इतना ही ज्ञान है आप में तो please tell us कि why do those startups fail? We know the statistic. So that's something which needs a little more delving on, that why don't only 20 startups fail? Why do startups need to fail once? Why don't 92% startups actually be successful? And there is a method behind it. So whatever we spoke about, this entire model is only a way to try to increase the probability of success, because there is a definite flaw somewhere in the way things are working right now, which is the whole Shah Rukh Khan model. Ki eat, sleep, deep dive your startup, whatever it is, everything is do that. Koi kaam chota nahi hota, just breathe your startup, eat your startup. That's all you do the whole day. That's shit advice. That's shit advice. There are things you're very bad at. Please don't do that when it comes to your startup. That's when you fail. That's what is the 92% people who failed are those people who said कि मैं ही हीरो हूँ, मुझे ही मेरा photo चाहिए on front of every magazine and I'll do everything. But it's humanly not possible, and it's humanly we are designed in a way where we are right brained or we are left brained. So you're an engineer, you're a numbers guy, you're analytics guy, or you're a creative guy, you're an advertising guy. So know who you are, do that part. The moment you start doing the other brains part, you screw up everything.
So, Suraj, thank you so much. I mean, it's been amazing chatting with you. So, we have this thing on our podcast where we have one question for you that has been left by our previous guest. So, we're going to ask you that question, and then we are going to ask you to ask a question for our next guest. So, this is a question brought to you by Ritika, who's founded Nisolo. They've said, what is the one advice you would give someone who has started a startup in the business of the financial sense?
Okay, so I just mentioned a little bit on it. I'll perhaps tell you a little bit on that, a little bit more on that. So I had mentioned earlier that most of us are able to raise money. If you're a good talker, you're this, that, a good product and stuff like that, you can raise money. That's not the biggest impediment. Startups, founders feel that the main thing is raising money and funds and funding and all that. The most important is spending money. So I think the one thing that I would leave you with in terms of a financial advice is be very, very clear about how to spend the money you raised or earned. And a follow up to that is, I think one example which I had shared with you guys earlier, that if Shah Rukh Khan is in a movie and he says, "मैं acting तो करूँगा ही, but I'll also do playback singing, I'll also do dancing, I'll also be the choreographer, I'll also be the guy who serves tea over there," it'll be a disaster because he's good at acting. He's great at acting. He loves that. He's good at that, and that's the only thing he should focus on. Similarly, the startup or the founder who's raised money should focus on the thing they are great at or they love to do. Generally, it's the same thing, and not do things they are not good at. So, mostly you're good at 2 things, but you suck at 3 things for sure. Don't do those 3 things by yourself. Make somebody else do it. Don't spend money on those 3 things yourself. Make somebody else spend it who understands that market and who's good at that. So that connects that answer.